Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Minions of the Zoo. I am your host, Johnny Hellcat. With me today is Sanguine.
Good evening, all.
How you doing today?
I'm doing grand, and yourself?
Oh, not too bad. I got a look at our power bill today, and ooh, oh man.
Yeah, power bills during the summer are always absolute fucking murder.
I was, my wife and I were actually talking about doing the solar panels, but we weren't fully committed to the idea. Just for the fact that essentially you're paying a lot of money for that shit.
Yeah, you're paying a lot of money up front, but now you looked at your energy bill and you're going, maybe we should reconsider.
Well, it's moreover just the fact that we're kind of like, if something should happen to us, like in the contract that we looked over, it said if anything happened to us, next of kin has to pay the full bill. And that was a huge thing for me because, I mean, I'm not old by any metric, but I'm also not the youngest kid in the book. In the book, so I could see, something happening, and then, our kids are left with, an $80,000 bill.
True.
But I also don't think that Montana is one of those states where your debts are going to be pursued if you pass.
And also the question becomes, is it that they have to repay it? Which, yeah, if you have to repay it, then they get whatever they get from inheritance. They're still living in the house, and then they pay it back over time, which that still puts them ahead? Or is it that they have to pay back all in one go right up at the front? Because that would suck, and that would be painful. But if it's they have to pay it back because they still have the solar panel, but it's you pay it over time still as the inheritor, that isn't terrible.
Yeah, if you just picked up, like if you picked up the house,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be a bad thing, because
Yeah,
at least it's consistent.
Yeah, if you got the house and you just had to pay back the well, solar panels, but you got to pay back the solar panels just like you would be paying back the solar panel,
Yeah.
then that isn't a bad deal. That's something that's still workable. Like I said, it would suck if it's no. You have to pay it all in one go, one lump sum, right away, up front. Yeah, that's a son of a bitch. But if there's time given, then it's not that bad. You can manage with that. Especially since they get the inheritance, they get the house, they get everything like that. So,
Yeah. I don't know. If I were 30, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But
yeah, no hesitation at all.
I think being that we are in our mid 40s, it's too. I wouldn't say it's too late, but
The risks are too realistic.
well, with the Johnny Blaze says plus to how much to replace them and keep them up to date. Um, with the contract we read, depending upon, I can't remember offhand. If something were to go out, it's essentially under warranty.
Okay.
But it's of course limited. I mean, it's not going to do that within the The first, it's like wait like 15 years, and it's like, oh, this has gone out. So
Yep.
yeah, I'm.
But even if after 15 years you just break even and then it goes out, well, you can break even again and again and again. That's not putting you back any. It's if they go out before you break even and the warranty isn't long enough to keep you in.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't feel bad about turning it down. So it's. I mean, it is what it is, but yeah, it's not terrible.
I've heard some cases where it's been really good. I've heard some cases where it's an absolute shit show and not worth the time. And it is highly location dependent. Because if you live in a valley that doesn't get full sunlight most of the day, then yeah, don't go for fucking solar panels.
Oh, we're in an open area and we get sunlight pretty much from sun up to sundown.
Yep. Which that tends to be that's a viable area to consider solar panels. Then the question just becomes, how much are they in order to get the amount of energy that you want? And how much is the battery? Because that's really the main thing still, last I looked into it, was the solar panels, they aren't cheap, but the battery, oh good God.
Oh yeah. Like most of them, like there is a battery, there's an option for battery storage. That is insane.
Yeah. But the battery storage is what makes the rest of the system really viable. Unless you're going straight for the I'm going to sell back every bit of power. And this isn't so much to make sure that I have consistent power that's not relying on the grid, but it's more just to produce power to sell back power. Because if you want consistent power, you need the battery storage.
Yeah.
If it's just, I want it to be cheaper during summer when I'm running AC all the time, and I want to be able to sell back additional power, then yeah, the battery storage isn't needed. It's a nice to have, not a must have.
And the way they explained it is that you're not really selling it back. It's just you're getting incentives for it. And they pitched it like you were selling it, but you weren't selling it.
Your area doesn't have grid buy?
Nope.
That sucks. Yeah, if you live in an area that has grid buy,
there's a tax credit for it, but then they're saying you only get the tax credit in the first year, and I'm like, no.
Well, that's the tax credit for the solar panels. That's one thing. I'm saying that there's a lot of areas where they'll hook up a special meter that if it runs negative, because the meter runs in both directions, if it runs negative, they pay you. If it runs positive, you pay them. If it zeros, no one pays anyone. But not every area has that, I don't think. But a lot of areas have that, where if you produce power that then goes to the grid, then you get paid for the kilowatt hours that you've produced.
Yeah.
That's the kilowatt hours that you produce in excess of what you use, because if you use it yourself, then why the fuck would they pay you? Your payment is not having to pay them.
And that thought is nice.
Yep. Yeah, not having to pay them is amazing.
But yeah, I just think it's too late for that. Especially by the time, let's see here. I am 43 now. And the loan's about 25 years. So yeah, I'd be well past Medicare age for it. But, and especially if we move, I mean, granted that's going to be impossible. But if we do end up moving, you know, they stay with the house. You can't just pack them up and take them.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But you can normally sell your house for considerably more.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, like I said, it's very area dependent whether it makes sense or not. And then there's terms and shit like that you need to look into, which you have already.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to talk you into it. I'm just saying that, yeah, these are the things that you have to consider.
Yeah.
To the people listening in.
Well, and it is promising, but yeah.
Oh,
it's kind of like if you can do it.
Yep. And it's just something that it's going to get cheaper as time goes on, but as time goes on and it gets cheaper, the reward for it will also get less, if that makes sense. Because the areas that do have the energy buyback, they'll start buying back energy for less and less and less because more people will have their own energy generation. Oh yeah, if we hadn't gone away from nuclear, and this is one of the reasons why I hate the fact that so many people look at Jimmy Carter and they go, well, he was just slandered at his time, and he's a really nice man. When you think back on it, he was a good president. No, he wasn't. He wasn't a good president. He wasn't as shit as some people think, but he's substantially more shit than most people think. And the thing that pisses me off the most about him is, do you know what Jimmy Carter did when he was in the military? Nuclear engineer on a sub.
Interesting.
So, if anyone should have been able to know what was going on when it came to nuclear incidents when they were president, one would think it would be Jimmy Carter, right?
Well, yeah.
And there's good reason to think that. Like I said, he was a nuclear engineer. And he did look at it and did go, oh, okay, this is what this means when a nuclear incident happened. The nuclear incident in question was 3 Mile Island. So, do you know what he realized when he looked at all the information from 3 Mile Island?
Nuclear is bad.
He realized that the entire stink about 3 Mile Island was completely nonsensical. Because it was nothing.
Now, what did happen with 3 Mile Island? Like, is
So,
that
3
just
Mile
is it like a Fukushima type thing, or is it like...
So what happened with 3 Mile Island was the reactor had a shit ton of safeguards. There was one bit where the reactor started to go a bit too hot. It was not melting down. It didn't go Chernobyl. It didn't start leaking large amounts of radiation. It went a little bit too hot. The safety measures kicked in, dealt with it being a little too hot, and killed the reaction before anyone realized that it had gone a bit too hot. The result was it burped out 3 transatlantic flights worth of radiation. That immediately dissipated.
So it could have been bad, but it wasn't.
It could have been bad if, I think it's something like 7 to 8 other safety measures had all failed. It was the first safety measure that kicked in and went, oh, okay, tamp this down a little bit. So, to even say that it could have been bad is overselling it.
Although it's more that it could have been worse. I guess that would be the way to go.
Like I said, even saying that it could have been worse is kind of overselling it. It could have been something. Is about as damning of a statement as you could reasonably make when it comes to 3 Mile Island. Because again, it was 3 transatlantic flights of radiation belched out of one stack. And then decayed very quickly. So, it was absolutely nothing. Jimmy Carter got the documents from it. He had heard about it in the news. He read into it. He went, oh, this is nothing. This is whatever. But then he realized that people were freaking out about it. And he functionally decided to use that. So rather than coming out and being Jimmy Carter, the president that people still respected, and that people didn't think that he was doing a great job, but no one was thinking that he was a liar. They just thought that he was in over his head. This would have been a perfect time for Jimmy Carter to come out and go, look, I worked on this shit when I was in the Navy. I know what I'm looking at. I know what I'm dealing with. This, no one should be worried about. No one should be freaked out about it. It was something that it could have potentially been an issue if 6 other safeties had also failed. But none of the safeties failed. Everything worked as it was supposed to. The only thing that kind of freaked someone out was that they didn't notice that it was a potential problem before it was already solved. And then it was 3 transatlantic flights belched out of a stack. That's all. Don't freak out. Because what happened was everyone thought that it was another Chernobyl. That radiation had just leaked out and the reactor had started to go into meltdown and it was narrowly saved. No, it wasn't narrowly saved. It was saved before anyone realized there was anything to save.
Every hot pocket within a 10-mile radius was perfectly cooked.
Yeah, it was such a minor goddamn thing. But now it's recognized as one of the nuclear disasters. 3 transatlantic flights. That's it. That's all. That isn't some obscene amount of radiation. It's people are so desperate for there to be nuclear disasters other than Chernobyl. Chernobyl is a legitimate nuclear disaster. But people are so fucking hungry for them that they'll look at 3 Mile Island and go, that's a nuclear disaster. No, it isn't. It is not a nuclear disaster. It's a fucking amazing thing. Our safety measures kicked in before anyone even realized that, oh, we should flip one of the safety measures. Because guess what we do in America? We automate a shit ton of that. And then we have manual fallbacks in case the automated system doesn't work. So what they did was I had that reactor go a little bit too hot. The safety measures kicked in. They tamped it down. Then someone realized, oh, shit. So these safety measures kicked in like 30 minutes ago. Everything's fine, but let's take down that reactor for the day and then figure out why it did that. And because they decided to take down a reactor for a day, that's a bit of a to-do. And that's what everyone else twigged onto, was that they took down the reactor, and also the fact that they went, yeah, we weren't sure exactly when this happened. Because, again, the safety mechanisms kicked in before anyone even realized there was a problem. Which is what you want. You want your you want your safety measures to kick in before anyone realizes that anything's gone wrong. But yeah, he made it a big to-do, and then people made Fukushima a big to-do, and Fukushima couldn't be, or shouldn't be in the list of major nuclear disasters. It got hit by an earthquake and then a tsunami.
Oh yeah, no, that thing was fucked from the go. Like, that's natural disaster, if anything. Like that.
Yeah, but do you know the most impressive thing about it?
Building still didn't fall. It just leaked.
It had one reaction chamber that leaked. It wasn't even the entire, nuclear setup was leaking. No, it was one of, I think, 6 reaction chambers.
Now, to go back to my previous thing, it could have been worse. That, by far, you can say it could have been a lot worse.
Oh, yeah, that could have been a lot worse. But, yeah, Fukushima was fucking nothing. And the thing that is also infuriating about that is, you know that China's making a big stink out of the wastewater purging?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the interesting thing about China making a big stink out of the wastewater purging? Every single day, the nuclear reactors on China's coast are producing, I think 10 times is the number? 10 times the amount of radiation that the Fukushima wastewater purge will. By the way, a single one of those coastal reactors from China produces more radiation when it comes to the amount that it allows to escape than something like 20 of our reactors.
Sorry, 1 second. I will be right back.
Yep. But yeah, it's an infuriating thing. Like I said, people are just absolutely gagging for nuclear disasters ever since Chernobyl, when they just aren't there. 3 Mile Island was not a nuclear disaster. 3 Mile Island should have been, holy shit, look how safe our reactors are. If something goes wrong, it's fixed before anyone even realizes that something went wrong to begin with. That's amazing. But yeah, China has a shit ton of coastal nuclear reactors, and all of them produce an insane amount of nuclear wastewater that they just pump into the ocean. And they're making a stink out of the Fukushima wastewater purge plan, which will add less radioactive wastewater into the ocean than I think it's like it adds less per month than these Chinese reactors do in a day. Yeah, and then we have additional reactor types that are coming online, and the new ones are amazing because we have reactors that are non-weaponizable. We have reactors that if their coolant line cracks, their coolant line self-seals. We have reactors that are ridiculously clean. If I remember correctly, we have reactors that we now have that are able to generate small amounts of energy off of the waste from other reactors, massively reducing the nuclear waste. It's absolutely ridiculous. And again, it's people are gagging for nuclear disasters when they just aren't there. So they look at 3 Mile Island, which 3 Mile Island is a triumph of nuclear plant design. Because again, the problem was solved before anyone realized it was a problem. And the only nuclear leak from it was 3 transatlantic flights worth. That isn't a hell of a lot of radiation for those who don't know. 3 transatlantic flights, that's nothing. So
I do like how some people will hear radiation and think nuclear.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily... It isn't necessarily the same thing.
Yep. Yeah, you get radiation every day. You get certain types of radiation more when you fly. People are still fine flying. You get... Go ahead.
I was going to say, now you don't want nuclear radiation, but...
Well, technically you're getting nuclear radiation. What you don't want is you don't want a large dose.
Exactly.
Because, yeah, if you've gone outside or if light has been able to hit you, you've received small amounts of nuclear radiation. We're constantly bathed in small amounts of nuclear radiation. It's called the background radiation.
Before we continue on, let's say hi to people in chat.
Hello.
Rotten Corpse, how's it going? K-Shoal, Raymond Lewis, Frosted, how you doing? Johnny Blaze, and Furry Bastard, how you doing? Green Badger Outdoors, as Terry, there's Cynic, and there's Hammer.
Yep.
And Jen. How's it going, Jen?
But yeah, it's the fact that people are just so hungry for there to be nuclear disasters that they'll make things that aren't nuclear disasters into nuclear disasters in their retelling. Again, Fukushima is a triumph of reactor design with how little of a fuck it gave from getting hit by an earthquake and then a tsunami.
Yeah, someone's trying to take that place down. Like,
Yeah, we've had bigger disasters from coal plants getting hit by that shit. Because we've had coal plants that have flash steam explosions, which those are fucked. But it's just people desperately want nuclear to be dangerous for some fucking reason.
well, they need a bad guy. So, of course, that's what they're going to go for.
But there's so many things that you could do that you could build up as the bad guy. Do you want to talk about a dangerous form of power? Coal. Coal's pretty fucking dangerous. Coal has one of the worst death per kilowatt hours scores of any method of generating power. One of the amusing ones that has an obscenely horrendous death per kilowatt hour. Do you want to guess what strange one has a high death per kilowatt hour?
Deer power?
Say again?
Deer power.
It is wind.
Yeah, I can see it.
Wind has an obscene death per kilowatt hour. Yeah, that's what it is. We have so many people that have tried to make nuclear scary, and there are certain things that nuclear should be scary. Nuclear bombs, scary as shit. But even then, there were some weird experiments that we did. Are you familiar with Operation Plum Bob?
No.
So, the U.S. was just setting off nukes in the desert for an extended period of time. And they did all kinds of shit. Like, one of the experiments was what happens if a nuke explodes above the heads of 5 men, 6 counting the photographer. So they got 5 volunteers and a photographer that they didn't tell the photographer what he was going to do until like 2 hours before they did it. And we had this one type of... I can't really call it an aerial intercept missile. It was an aerial defense missile that was a nuke. Yes, we made an aerial defense missile that was a nuke. And the idea behind it was we were still having trouble with air-to-air missiles or ground surface-to-air. This was in like the mid-50s, if that. So we were still trying to figure that shit out. But the Soviets had just developed their first nukes, and we were going, oh, this is bad. We need something that we can deal with, but we don't really have any missiles that we could shoot down their strategic bombers with. And yeah, we can scramble fighters, but our fighters might not be able to get all of them if they send enough in one go. What if we just, into the center of their formation, spawned a sun? So we decided that we would make a nuclear defense that was a surface-to-air nuke. People were worried about this. Arguably, rightfully so.
Yeah,
so the
I'm with
military decided to show how safe it was by getting 5 volunteers from the military. And, again, a photographer that they didn't tell what the fuck was going on until a couple hours right before this happened. They sent them out to the desert and they launched one of these into the sky and detonated it above their heads. Do you know the youngest age that any of those men died? 71. Of the 6 people that had a nuke detonated above their head without any sort of cover, protection, or anything, yeah, the youngest age was 71. None of them died of cancer. It's weird.
Oh, man.
But yeah, I can understand people being worried about nuclear weapons. Massive fucking explosion. Massive danger. The thing is that we can scale nuclear explosions, and we've gotten really good at scaling nuclear explosions. So we have the massive fucking nuclear explosions, but then we also have tactical. And the tactical, nowhere near as large. It's something that just so many people have been taught to fear that now everyone's just shit scared constantly.
Yeah, that's... people are dumb.
Yep, and it's convenient politically for people to be dumb. Because if you're able to convince everyone that the only way that we could generate enough power safely and clean is your particular pet project, rather than a tech that we've had for decades, you get a lot more money thrown at you. Yes, I love nuclear power. Nuclear power is fucking awesome. Also, nuclear power is the reason why everyone says that the Soviets launched the first man-made object into space. That's horseshit. We did. Do you know what our first object in space was?
Well, it wasn't dogs.
It was like a 2+ ton sewer cap.
Hey, Cannibalistic Wizard.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about the Davy Crockett. Rotten mentioned that we got so good at scaling nukes that we had a nuclear delivery method that was effectively a massive slingshot on the back of a Jeep. And what you would do is, yeah, the effective range was less than its lethal range. So what you would do is you'd get into the Jeep, you would load it, and then you would fire it, and the second that it fires, you would hit the gas and go. Just go. And it would work. But yeah, it's the Davy Crockett, I want to say, is the name of that particular device. Yeah, we had the manhole cover. It was like a 2-ton manhole cover that we accidentally shot to space.
Accidentally?
Yeah, we were trying to detonate nukes underground, or rather, we were doing an experiment where we might potentially detonate a nuke underground. We wanted to see what would happen if you blow up a nuke. Not detonate a nuke, blow up a nuke. And there is a difference. Detonating is when you make the nuke blow up. Blowing up a nuke is when you blow up a nuke with something else that isn't a nuke. So, we dug a massive hole in the desert. We shoved a nuke down there. And then we tossed a bomb down onto it. But we had set it up so that it was... the nuke was at the bottom of the hole. The bomb was above the nuke. There was, like, I want to say 50 tons or some shit like that of concrete. And then there was this, like, 2 to 4 ton manhole cover that we made. We did this twice. The first one that we did it was a specially designed manhole cover that allowed them to stick special sensors down through the manhole cover. When they set off the bomb that was on the nuke, it was described as the most beautiful Roman candle ever created. As apparently, if you blow up a nuke, it does set off the nuke. And
I mean, you would think so.
Well, there were a bunch of reasons to think that it might not. Turns out it does. But when that happened, it started the nuclear reaction going. It started burning very hot. It vaporized all of the concrete. And it still had enough force that the original cap that we had on was either completely vaporized as well or launched. We aren't sure which one with that. And blue flames just started shooting out of the ground. Everyone decided to get the fuck out of there. Wise move. But they decided that we needed to do this again. So they did a second run.
That's cool. Let's do it again.
Yeah, part of it was absolutely, it looked fucking awesome. Let's do it again. Part of it was, what the fuck just happened? Let's do it again. So the second time was the one where they had the manhole cover that we know is probably launched into space. Because what happened was, we set up the experiment the exact same way, only we changed out the cap that we put on it. So, rather than the cap that we originally had on it, which was kind of porous, and we think that one got vaporized because there were ways that gases could escape from the tube that we made. The second one, we made like a 2 to 4 ton manhole cover. I think we doubled the amount of concrete. And then we welded that manhole cover to the top of the tube. Then set up a shit ton of high-speed cameras around this manhole cover. And we detonated the bomb again, which caused the nuke to go off. The nuke promptly vaporized all of the concrete again. And once again, blue flames started shooting out of this hole. Of course, the question was, where did the cap go? We welded that shit on. Where the fuck is it? So they looked at the high-speed camera. The high-speed camera was, I can't remember whether it was 1,000 frames a second or whether it was 10,000 frames a second. But it was either 1,000 or 10,000 frames a second. So ridiculously fast shutter speed. They did the work of going through to see how many frames this manhole cover that we had made was in. It was in exactly 1. And only 1. So they figured out the absolute slowest that it could be traveling in order to be in only 1 frame of that camera. And it was something like 1,000 Gs is what that shit was pulling. So Gs is an acceleration measure. It means 1,000 times gravity, which is 1,000 times the acceleration of gravity is a G. Or is 1,000 Gs. A G is the acceleration of gravity. So it was one frame, and it was already 3/4 of the way to the top. But yeah, it was something like 1,000 times the acceleration of gravity. So it was fucking moving. And by rough calculations, yeah, it got shot out of the Earth's atmosphere into space. There are people that say that it probably got vaporized as it went. That's unlikely. Or at least it isn't. There's no way of saying that that's absolutely what happened, and there's a bunch of reasons to say that that isn't what happened. Because people will often point to, well, meteorites. They burn up in Earth's atmosphere. Well, some of them do. Some chunks of them do. Small ones do. But that's also raw metal and rock. Not several tons of heat-treated steel. But, yeah, it just absolutely got shot up and probably into space. So I chalk that up as America was the first one to shoot something into space.
I really wondered, like, if there were aliens just flying down the in the cosmos, and then just
get
be like
pinged by a 4-ton manhole cover.
Just watch a manhole cover just. Like, what the fuck is that?
Absolutely obliterate something. Because, oh yeah, that's the other thing. If it did make it to space, whatever portion of its speed it was still moving, by the time that it hit space, it's still moving that, unless it hit something or it got too close to a gravitational well.
Now, in space, just in the depths part, once you have something moving, it's not stopping until it hits something.
Yep. Which is why I said it's moving at the same speed from the point where it hits space until it either hits something or it runs into a substantial enough gravity well. Because if you get within a gravity well's radius, then it starts adding additional pulls. So
how far outward have we searched as far as like past Pluto?
Let me see where Voyager is. I think Voyager is the furthest out.
Because I know that they said they found Voyager was the outer edge of the solar system.
Voyager is currently... Yeah, Voyager is currently about 15 billion miles away. It is now in interstellar space.
Is it still sending images back?
Let me see if...
Or is it something that's just like, and we're done here?
I believe it's still sending back information. It's just taking long as hell.
Well, I mean, it's probably one of those kilobyte per second. Like,
so the time that it would take to get there, moving at light speed from Earth right now, is almost a full day.
Now, how far was it going? Because I'm sure that it's not going like light speed.
Oh, no. Let's see. Does it have its speed? Oh, and apparently its imaging science subsystem is currently off. But it's still sending back other readings because it's doing the magnetometer, it's doing plasma wave, and it's doing uh, charged particles, as well as cosmic ray. And does it tell me the speed? So its current speed is 37,876 miles per hour relative to the sun.
Now it just sends us memes. Yeah.
But yeah, it's the furthest known man-made object from us. And I say furthest known because, again, there's a decent chance that there's a manhole cover way the fuck ahead of it.
Let's see. Here's the deepest image ever produced.
So yeah, the last time that we got images from Voyager 1 was in 1990. And the camera is currently just off in order to conserve power. It will flip back on at some point, most likely. But the plasma system is off because it was getting damaged. As is the photo polarimeter. That's off because it was getting damaged. But the image system, the infrared system, the planetary radio, and the ultraviolet spectrum are all off to conserve power. Last time we did the ultraviolet spectrum was in 2016.
Well, turn that shit on. We need to see something.
Well, currently it's in interstellar space. I think they're waiting until... But yeah, it is one light day away. Just shy of one light day away. But yeah. This type of shit's just so fucking cool.
Yeah. Let's see. The region outside the heliopause.
Frosted Glass, are you bringing up the fact that we sent nudes to aliens?
We sent nudes to aliens?
Oh, you haven't heard about this?
I have not heard about that.
Let me find the Voyager plate. So, it's the Pioneer plaque is the name of it. And where is the... It was on Pioneer 10 and Pioneer 11. Where are those currently? Those... So, the Pioneer 10 and Pioneer 11 both have what's known as the Pioneer plaque. And Pioneer plaque is that time that we sent nudes to aliens. So let me pull up. And it looks... So we have a version of the Pioneer plaque on Earth, of course, and it looks gloriously insane. I love it, and it's something that Carl Sagan came up with. So,
hey E.T., check out these titties. Nice.
do you want me to send you, or shall I share, and then everyone sees that way?
Yeah, you can share it.
Okay. Let me pull it up. Oh, this one doesn't have the naked people. Let me find the one that has the naked people. Because there's two versions of it. There's one that doesn't have the naked people, and then there's the one that has the naked people.
Is it going to get us flagged?
No, because it's just... It is not highly detailed. It's not like photorealistic naked people.
Oh, so they didn't just send a 1970s Playboy?
No, they didn't send 70s Bush to aliens.
They send it back. But, trim that shit.
Here, let's do this one. This one has... I'll show both of them, but I'll show this one first. Because this one has the "we sent nudes to aliens."
It's for education.
And the first one of "we sent nudes to aliens" is this.
Oh.
So
I think Harry's shown this one before.
Yeah. It's that time that we sent nudes to aliens. So it's a depiction of a hydrogen atom. It's a hydrogen molecule because it's neutral hydrogen. Hydrogen bomb. No, it is hydrogen atom. So, hydrogen atom. It's a picture of what a potential interstellar spaceship could look like. A naked man, a naked woman. The binary for 8. Where we are in our solar system is along the bottom. Where our sun is with respect to a set point in the galaxy. We chose 14 different pulsars. And then the planets of our solar system are all on here. Again, it marks where we are. As well as their binary relative distance to the sun. So that's the time that we sent nudes to aliens. But then there's also another Pioneer plate that was also sent along. And that's this version of it. Which contains some of the same information, but then it also has additional bits of information. One of the things that it has is communicating that, yes, we know what pi is. Because pi is a universal constant. But yeah. Those were sent on Voyager 10 and 11. I think both of them are on both. So we've sent aliens nudes twice.
And there you have it. We think aliens are horny.
Well, I've told you what I think is going to happen if we ever discover aliens, right? There's going to be an order of operations when it comes to how we deal with aliens. First step, is the alien a threat to us? If so, we're fucking up that alien if we can. If the alien isn't a threat to us, then there's going to be two questions that occur at the same fucking time. Can we fuck it and can we trade with them? You know humans are going to ask both of those at the same time.
I mean, yeah, I think starting with fuck it would be the way that it would start with that conversation.
Yeah, it's going to be, if there's two people in the room, one of them's going to go, can we fuck them? The other one's going to go, do they have anything that we can trade? Wait, did you just ask if we could fuck them?
Where can I put this?
Say again, my headset cut out for a second.
This would be like, where can I put this?
Yeah. So it would be, can we fuck them? Can we trade with them? That's the second question that gets asked. And then from there, it's going to be, if they aren't a threat to us, we can't fuck them, we can't trade with them, do they taste good? That's going to be the order of operations. At least I hope that's the order of operations. I'm going to be really worried if that last question is swapped out with the can we trade with them? And it goes from, are they a threat to us? Can we fuck them? Can we eat them? And then can we trade with them? That's a bit of a worrying thing if that's how humanity progresses. But I think it's going to be, are they a threat? Can we fuck? Can we trade? And then only if it's no, 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 can we eat them? And are they tasty?
And for any faith in humanity, you would think the second one is, can we trade?
Well, no, I know humanity. Humanity's going to ask, can we fuck and can we trade at the same exact time?
And if we can we do them both at the same time?
Yeah. There's a reason why fucking sometimes referred to as swapping bodily fluids. It's a form of trade. It's a strange form of trade, but it's a form of trade.
So I'm going to ask, is my audio coming in okay?
I can hear you.
I think just with having to reset up everything, it's just kind of weird. Because yeah, the granted, the monitors aren't hooked up to any like speaker systems or anything, so that I didn't think was gonna do anything. But I know like when you reset stuff, it's going to fuck with settings. So
and Terry agreed with my questions, only he had a slightly different order. I'm pretty sure we both agree, are they a threat is going to be question 1. But then he also agrees question 2 is going to be fuck, but he thinks that it's going to be the more worrying scenario of can we fuck them, can we eat them? And then can we trade? I hope
I know
that we don't ask fuck and eat right back to back like that.
Frosted, you'll definitely need to do your Trump impression and greet aliens. Because, yeah, that would... I'm hearing that in my head, and it would be hilarious. Because I can't do a Trump impression. But yeah, the monitor that my stepson has, because he only took one monitor with him, and one of the monitors he has is one of the 3440 by 1440 monitors. So, like, everything plays in widescreen.
Yep.
And I was gonna do 428 Shibuya Scramble until you got there, and it pulled up in widescreen in the biggest field of vision.
Yep.
So it would have been kind of weird. Especially, getting everything else set up here. But yeah, it's a nice monitor. But yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, I probably could have set up this entire stream just on this monitor alone, and had room to spare.
Oh yeah, I have two big curved screens. And like I said, I need to get a little bit of wood so I can tack it onto the top part of my desk, just so I can attach my third monitor as well.
Yeah. I think this one is a curved screen, I think. It's an LG. That's all I really know about it. And then my right monitor is Samsung. It's also a curved screen. And then my left monitor is my LG from my own thing.
Yeah, I have two of the ultra-wide curved screens. And they are nice.
Oh, damn.
Allows me to have all the shit open at the same time.
New middle.
Oh, if they gave me the option of purposefully selecting to run off nuclear power, hell yeah. I love nuclear power. Nuclear power is amazing. Nuclear power should be our main power source for our grid. But we have cowardly little bitches.
Hey, doing Photoshop on here is going to be a pain in the ass.
And Terry, by the cool S, do you mean the S that all of us, for some reason, constantly drew when we were in, like, middle school and high school?
I never drew that S.
What are you, a freak?
Everyone else drew that S, and I didn't get it.
It was the cool S.
It was an S.
But cool.
Sure.
God damn it, Frosted. Start communicating with aliens, step 1. Smallpox blankets.
That type of savagery wouldn't stick around. One atom, one hammer, one chisel. And a really good swing. Split your atom, and you're good to go. No, a friend of mine called because he had an extra ticket for Deadpool and Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
And all day they're just like, oh yeah, starts tomorrow. And so he called and he's like, hey, you coming to the movie? And I'm like, isn't that tomorrow? And they're like, well, no, they're doing it today. And I'm like,
You've been saying it starts tomorrow. What the fuck?
I'm like, even the commercials are saying the 26th. And yeah, apparently not.
Damn. That sucks.
Like, so now I have to watch it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, that's pretty much all I got. So anything going on in your neck of the woods?
Same old works bullshit. Dealing with life in general, planning for the camping trip, not next week, but the following week.
Oh, I did actually have something pop up. But where are you going camping?
Going to the island again. Rock Island.
Nice.
Going to be there for 2 days. So it's a short trip this time around, but it was also a short trip planned at the 11th hour, so can't really be choosy with it being short with that.
Yeah, that's your options are limited.
Mm-hmm. But we get to go to Rock Island, which is fun as shit.
So last was it last week? I don't know if I actually talked about it with you, but I put in for a position at my work, and they had given me the instant rejection email.
Yep.
Which I was like, okay, whatever. And then I was kind of just waiting in the wings to see if they would hire someone in state, because it's a corporate wide position, but the duties that it entails mainly stick around Montana.
Yep.
And so I'm like, okay, I'll just refer, a couple of coworkers that I know would be perfect for the job, since I'm not getting it. And I went to refer it, and the job listing was gone. So I'm like, oh, well, so they already hired someone. And I think about a week later, which was at this time last Friday or Thursday, I saw that it was reposted again. So I'm like, oh, sweet, another bite at the apple. Thinking, you remove the posting, that is the try. You put the posting back up, that's a new posting. So it's fair game for me.
So I get to go again. Fuck you.
Exactly. So I put in my application, and I go to submit it, and they're like, no, you can't do that. You've already applied for this job. There you go. Like, see your results from your menu screen. I'm like, oh, you're a bitch.
That's fucked.
And so I was talking to a coworker of mine, because she's the one who referred the job to me.
Mm-hmm.
And like, the more I talked about it with them, like, the more it stewed, and the more pissed I got. So I sent a copy or inquiry to our HR department, which is quite possibly the most worthless thing I've ever done. But
Oh yeah. Art opponents are worthless by design.
so I put in this request, and then they sent me the reply after a couple of days. You can't reapply for this job because you're ineligible. And I go, okay, what makes me ineligible? Like, you can't just say you're ineligible for this job. And it's like, I need a reason, not just, because we said so.
Yep.
So I sent an email to the recruiter, and I go, I saw that this job was up. I put the email, I put the resume in. It got rejected, and I went to refer this guy over here. Saw that it was,
unlisted.
Saw it was unlisted, and then I saw it relisted, so I tried to apply for it, and looking to see if that's a legit thing. And she goes, immediately, like within 10 minutes, she goes, oh yeah, we reset your application. Just send me your resume and your cover letter over the email. So I sent it to her directly. And then I went on vacation. So I don't know where it is. I don't know the status of it. And I'm afraid to look.
Look. Find out.
Yeah, I'm going to look tomorrow. But it'll be funny.
I'm going to chuckle if it's the HR people had rejected ones that they shouldn't have. And that was what was going on.
Actually, I went Shawshank on these people. Because there was there's a financial service department, and every time that I had to deal with the financial service department, I'd end up having to get help to understand, quote unquote, understand the financial service department, to which that help never helped. So we do these training things, and then when you do like the surveys for them, because everything's based on surveys anymore. But when you do the surveys, you can suggest topics. And every month for, I'd say, 14 months, I put the same topics regarding our financial service department, and reading the documents that they have, because it's translated. And so you have these codes that send you to this other screen, and that screen sends you to another screen, and then it just loops back and forth. So I'm like, I don't even know how to fucking read this shit. And they actually sent back, because they also have what's called the self-help library. And what that is it's just a list of things that you can just skim, like an instruction manual for pretty much anything.
Yep.
And what they ended up doing is they're like, we created a section in the self-help library for this topic. Please stop emailing us. Like,
nice.
And I talked to the same guy I was going to refer the job for, and I go, did you notice the FSS section in the self-help library? And he goes, no. And I'm like, that's because they just put it in. And he goes, oh, do they? And I'm like, yeah, Yeah, they told me they put it in for me,
Nice.
but I can't tell them to put it in anymore. So,
Yeah, it's. I always hate dealing with HR fucking anywhere. The worst HR that I've ever had to deal with, though, was when I was working for the correction department, or Department of Corrections, rather, because that one had the least excuse for being as bad as it was. Do you know how many HR departments were at every prison in the state?
too many.
How many is too many to your mind?
One.
So, by that, yes, and it was far, far too many. Do you want to hear how many they actually had at every prison?
Huh.
6.
Like per department?
So, there were 6 departments that all were dealing with HR issues. They all had completely overlapping areas that they were looking at. Since we had the HR department, that one, everyone knows what the HR department is. Then, in order to fix the fact that we had so many people leaving corrections, they decided that they would make a office of professionalism, which is effectively the HR department by a different name. They were also having problems because there were rumors at various points that people weren't quite following policy, so they made an office of policy, which also had overlapping magisteria with the HR department. So we're at 3 currently. They were still having problems, so they made the office of policy and professionalism. We're at 4. Still having problems. So they made the office of professionalism in the workplace. Where the fuck else do you have professionalism? Fuck if I know. 5. Oh, sorry, I said 6. It should have been more than 6. Because they were still having problems. Policy in the workplace. Where the fuck else do you have policy? Fuck if I know, but they have now that office as well. Then they were still having problems. So they had the office of policy and professionalism in the workplace. We're at 7. And if I remember correctly, before I was leaving, there were murmurings that there was going to be the Office of Policy in the Workplace and Professionalism. 8.
Gross.
Yeah, there's a reason why at the prison that I worked at, if you do the overall staff to offender ratio, you end up with like 2 to 3 offenders per staff or something like that. It might be at the high end 5 offenders per staff member. Do you want to guess what it was if you're actually just looking at correctional officers? It was something along the lines of 50 to 70 to 1.
Yeah, that's not a it's not a safe number.
No, it's not. So again, it was when you're looking at overall staff for the prison to the offenders, you were dealing with somewhere in between 2 and 5 offenders per staff member, which means that the other sections of the prison totaled up had about 9 times the number of correction officers or more. 9 or more times the number of correction officers were hired in other sections of the prison. And they were confused why just adding more HR departments didn't fix the problems.
Oh man.
It was absolutely disgusting the way that that worked out. There's no reason in any semblance of reality that you would have that many fucking HR departments.
Yeah, that's a bit much.
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't know. I don't know about you, but I'm getting kind of tapped out. So we're almost at an hour and a half, so we were good. It's gonna be you tomorrow.
Yep.
All right. Catch
I'm
Sanguine.
here this week. I won't be here next week, nor will I be here the following, most likely. Though I might be able to. I'll be checking with the other two, see if one of them can run the stream while I just do my chat.
Anyway, that could work. But yeah, with that, the zoo is closed. Have a good night, Errol.
Have a good night, all.